Hey, and good evening on a beautiful Fargo evening and a beautiful Florida evening, I would anticipate, as I bring in Scott Taylor. Hey, Scott, weather updates. Hey, it's perfect up here. 40 degrees. Golf courses will be open in about 3 or 4 weeks. But how are things in Florida?
About 83. Spent the day at the pool. Didn't do much else. Just
And and you're
lounged
rolling
around,
with the
around the park.
Vikings hat.
Yeah, I got the Vikings hat going on today. Of course, I'm at my daughter's house. Of course, being the huge Minnesota Vikings fan she is, I stole her hat tonight. Um, how about them Jets?
We were talking 2 weeks ago. Dead in the water. Not going to make the playoffs. They're done. They're toast. They're not. They're at what, 3 points, 4 points out of a playoff position right now. Wild did win last night, so the Jets are still chasing, it looks like, the Wild and potentially Las Vegas. What are your thoughts?
They're chasing Las Vegas, and
Yeah.
Vegas plays tonight. They're only two back. They're two points out of the last playoff spot. Now, to me, that's just ridiculously nuts. They've only won 28 games. They're the only team in the race that hasn't won 30 games yet because they've lost 10 in overtime. They have 10 single points. It's the craziest year, but they have a life. Now, they have to keep winning because they have so many teams to jump over. I mean, not everybody's going to collapse, but over the last couple of weeks, teams have been collapsing.
Yeah.
And the Jets have found themselves, at least with a sniff, with 20 games left to play. It's crazy.
Nuts. And then, of course, on the other side of the equation, by the way, listen to Game on Hockey on 790 KFGO and 104.7 Hope FM. We appreciate you joining us each and every week. We will carry on this conversation. Well, the Minnesota Wild, they were kind of looking like there was a tint that had a little wobble to it. They were wobbling, and then they beat Boston Bruins last night. Now Boston goes into Winnipeg tomorrow night after a day off. That is a very large game for the Winnipeg Jets tomorrow night to keep up with the Wild who beat Boston last night.
Every game is a huge game.
Yeah,
for the
they absolutely
there's no sense even bringing up this backs against the wall or life and death and all the rest of it. Everyone is life and death. They have to win every game. And as I said, it's not because they're only 2 points out. It's because they have so many teams to jump over. I think there's 4 teams between them and Vegas for that last spot. And it's going to be hard for all of those teams to collapse. So you're not just 2 back of Vegas, but you're 1 back of 3 other teams. So it's still a battle. There's no easy nights, but this is a team that's won a little bit. It hasn't won a lot. It hasn't set the world on fire.
No,
but it's won enough to get back into the race. And a big win, 7-3 over Vegas this week. They play Vegas again on Tuesday. They got Boston tomorrow. They have a real opportunity over the next few days to get themselves legitimately back into the playoff hunt. And as we discussed, that's nuts considering where they were 2 weeks ago.
And there's a name that keeps coming up between Las Vegas and the Minnesota Wild. The goaltender for the Chicago Blackhawks, Marc-Andre Fleury. Rumor is out there still that the goaltending issue is probably a bigger issue in Vegas right now, but people are questioning the goaltending of Talbot and Capo Kakkonen with the Wild. And the importance, like you said, the NHL playoffs should be called goalie, and that name keeps popping up a little bit. You think he may make a move either to, the Wild potentially, but Vegas Golden Knights probably.
Well, he didn't put the Blackhawks back in the playoffs. He played very, very well in Chicago, but he didn't make them a playoff team. And I think Chicago is looking with Marc-Andre Fleury, okay, this is an opportunity maybe to go back to Vegas and rob them blind, considering what we had to give up to get Fleury, which wasn't a lot. They might be saying to Vegas, come on, boys, come on, what do you want? You need a goalie, and Leonard's not going to play the rest of the season. You need somebody. Your goaltending's not very good. Your guy the other night gave up 7 in Winnipeg. I don't think Minnesota would get into that war. I still think Minnesota believes that the 2 guys they have are good enough. Minnesota, of course, what did they do last night? They got the dreaded 2-goal lead.
Yeah.
And before you could blink, it was 2-2.
Yeah. Yeah, they always call it the worst lead, and every lead's a good lead. And why they call it the worst lead, I have no idea.
I don't know why, but the Jets are the worst at it.
Yeah.
If I'm betting on bet365.com because they have in-game betting, if we can just take a 2-0 lead, I cash out and then bet the other team because guaranteed they're going to tie them. Guaranteed.
We should call this a gambling show. We tell people how to what lines they should do. Yeah, right. People in gambling making a lot of money. Yeah, good luck. Good luck with that. By the way, what?
Speaking of bad habits.
Yeah.
I'm walking through Walmart in Florida today. And I didn't realize how far out of the loop I am in terms of new innovations in world snacking.
Really?
Went into a freezer section in the Walmart in Orlando, Florida, of a ice cream treat called Proof, alcoholic ice cream.
Oh, geez.
Rocky Road Moonshine.
That's all they need in Walmart, right?
Cookie dough whiskey.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's got to be 21 plus to buy it. It's alcoholic ice cream, and I did not realize that the world had come to alcoholic ice cream.
And there's one other thing before we talk about what guests we have for today's show, and there's one waiting in our guest room to join us here momentarily via phone. She has bad internet connection, so she'll be joining us. There's a restaurant in Winnipeg that we as kids would go to after hockey games when the parents would drive across Winnipeg. We'd drive back, and it was called the Gay Cavalier.
Yes.
That name has since changed to just the Cavalier, but however, don't run through the airport yelling Gay Cavalier in Florida. You might get in trouble, right?
No, there won't be any of that going on.
There you go. Okay, well, we do have a great we do have a really great guest list. You know what? The University of North Dakota, my good friend Scott, has had 2 goaltenders that have won gold medals in the Olympics. One is named Ed Belfour. He's in the Hockey Hall of Fame. You know the other one, but the trivia question is they're both University of North Dakota former players, former goaltenders, gold medalists. And with that, we're going to introduce you to, well, she has a gold medal. Well, if I wish she was on Zoom, she would have the gold medal around her neck. Go ahead, Scott, you do the introduction.
Well, yeah, I really wanted to see the gold medal, and now I feel lousy about it. But from Brandon, Manitoba, University of North Dakota, University of Wisconsin, where she became the best goaltender in the NCAA, and just won her big game in Pittsburgh this week, ladies and gentlemen. Kristen Campbell, congratulations, gold medalist.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks so much. I wish I was on the screen too to show you, but maybe next time because the internet's really bad up here.
Where are you exactly?
I'm just at home right now. I've been kind of traveling everywhere, but I made it back for a week in Manitoba, so just outside of Brandon right now.
So okay. Tune me in here. How do you get bad internet just outside of Brandon?
Bad. I don't know. Like, we have a lot of houses around us, and we need to get a new tower because it's always slow. And then today it just decides it's not going to work. So.
Well, as I've often said, third world Manitoba. There you are.
There you are. So
our old sewer system in Winnipeg and your internet in the rural distance of the province. It's third world issue.
Well, congratulations on your win last week. We watched on NHL Network of an overtime victory over the U.S. team after doing the same thing over in China. Tell us about the experience over there. What was it like going there? All the protocols in place for COVID and managing to get through the tournament as you had to, being very, very careful. What was the whole scenario like?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely an amazing experience. And even with all the COVID protocols in place, it didn't really change the experience that much. Obviously, we had a lot of COVID tests we had to do. Every single morning we had that. And then we spent a lot of our time in the athlete village. We were still allowed to go watch other sports, which was really nice. I saw bobsled and men's hockey, figure skating, just different events we went to as a team. And then, we spent a lot of time with each other because obviously not having family and friends there, we got to hang out in our rooms with each other a lot more than probably a normal Olympics. But it was pretty crazy, and they did really well pulling everything off over there. Things were very strict, but obviously the Olympics were completed, and that was the goal from the start. So
how are your accommodations?
They were great. Yeah, we were in brand new apartment complexes, and every country had a couple of the buildings. We had men's hockey in ours and curlers, but I was living with 2 former Wisconsin Badgers, which was fun. And then, they were great. We all had our own bedrooms, bathrooms, and a big common living space and living room. So, it was pretty great. Everything was very new, and we were lucky. It was a great place to stay for a month.
How was the food?
It was different for sure. They had lots of options, but I think Canada had actually shipped a lot of our own foods that we have back here. Like they had sent like Nespresso coffee machines and like oatmeal and a bunch of different snacking foods, lots of protein shakes. So I feel like I definitely had a lot of protein shakes when I was there, but yeah, I was kind of didn't venture off too much from what I normally eat, but yeah, there was a lot of options, but I kind of stuck to like our Canadian foods.
That's the voice of Kristen Campbell, a former University of North Dakota hockey player, University of Wisconsin, a goaltender, went to Wisconsin after the UND women's program was discontinued, sadly, and now a gold medal. Where is that gold medal at this very, very moment?
It's actually on my kitchen counter because I was planning on showing it on here, but yeah, it's definitely made a few stops since we all won it, I guess, a month ago today. So.
Tell us about the trip to Pittsburgh. You didn't play a lot in Beijing, but you got a victory against the U.S. Last weekend. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, it was pretty fun out there. I actually hadn't played the U.S. before at the senior level, so I mean, you're going into the third period tie game for making your debut against the U.S., and obviously it was a game with the PWHPA, and I mean, technically not as big a stakes, obviously, as like an Olympic game or anything like that. But I mean, yeah, I kind of treated it the same. Like I prepared the same way. I knew I was going in for the third because we each played a period. But yeah, it was just really exciting to be in there finally. And then to get the win in overtime and have Marie-Philippe Poulin score an overtime goal is kind of like a deja vu feeling when she scored that. But yeah, it was crazy like being on the ice this time. And it was just exciting to have that moment out there and be out there with my team who had just come off the gold medal, and it was just special to reunite with the girls that weekend too.
You know, as familiar as these two teams, the U.S. and Canada, is against each other, they said just play a best of 7 for the gold medal. It seems that that's going to be the case for a very, very long time. But the world of women's hockey has grown significantly, and other teams are now making an impact. And you can't take any of those teams lightly, can you?
Yeah, no, for sure. Like the game's come so far, and I think like there's a lot of chatter even like at this Olympics, like that the scores weren't that close for some games. But honestly, I think every country is growing so much, and I mean, Canada and the U.S. is the only teams that get centralized for the 6 months prior to the Olympics. So I was talking to one of the European coaches, and we were saying, actually Peter Elander, he coached at North Dakota, but he was saying too how like if the other countries were to centralize, like the level of play would be a lot more kind of even. Like he kind of explained as like we obviously are together all year and the other countries aren't, and the fact that they're as competitive as they are without having the opportunities we have is pretty impressive. So it's exciting to see the game continuously growing, and women's hockey just keeps getting better and better.
You played at UND in Wisconsin. There are more and more European players playing in the NCAA. Does the NCAA get a share of that gold medal, silver medal, and bronze medals at these Olympics?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think like even looking at the rosters, like a lot of the players on Switzerland or Finland or all the other countries like came through either like the NCAA, like you recognize a lot of the names. So I think it just shows how many high-end players like college hockey does produce. And it's pretty exciting to play against players you either played with or played against. So yeah, for sure, college hockey has a part of all the Olympians' experiences.
That's the voice of Kristen. I had a Kirsten last week. Kristen Campbell, who is a gold medalist for Team Canada in this past Olympics, a former UND hockey player and University of Wisconsin NCAA player as well. And now this season for you is the game aspect of thing over? Where do you go to get game experience moving forward to keep your game sharp?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of chatter right now, I think, just about the professional league and what's going to happen. And we just know that with the PWHPA, we're all standing together, and we are really pushing for that sustainable league where we can play and make a living and just have access to everything, all the resources possible in order to keep growing our game. So that's the next step for me and my teammates. Is we know that there's something on the horizon for women's hockey professionally, and I really have a great feeling that it's going to happen here in the next few months. I really think something's going to come together. So we're kind of just now going to train and keep standing together and pushing for that league where we can play competitive games that aren't just every 4 years at the Olympics. And it's just really exciting time for women's hockey, I think.
What's your schedule for the next little while? You're at home now. Where do you go? What do you do? What's going to happen over the next few months?
Yeah, so I'm home for a little bit here, and then I have my home in Calgary, and that's where I train out of with our Team Canada goalie coach and our strength coach. So I'll end up being there for most of the summer, but kind of still like flying around to events here and there. We obviously have been on the road quite a bit, but our team will get together for a ring gala sometime in the summer where we'll get our World Championship rings and obviously the Olympic rings. So that'll be pretty exciting, and just kind of a few events here locally, and then just going to be in Calgary training, but taking a few trips here too eventually to kind of relax and recharge. So yeah, it'll be a pretty busy summer, but kind of the training never stops, and we'll be back at it here right away soon again.
One last quick question before we send you off for your evening in Brandon, Manitoba. Have you ever met Ed Belfour?
I haven't, no, but he was one of my brother's favorites growing up. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I can arrange that meeting because you two former UND players who have gold medals. There are very, very few of you out there, and so I'll reach out to Eddie and see if I can arrange a meeting between you two, because that would be, again, you're in very rarefied air. Now, you're not in the Hockey Hall of Fame yet, but when you get there with Eddie, then you'll be in the same footings, right, Scott?
Oh, absolutely. But she's got a couple more gold medals to win yet.
Yeah, and a bigger cabinet to put all this stuff
coming up in another Olympics.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
That'd be awesome.
Well, we sure appreciate you jumping on board. Really proud of the Team Canada. Proud of women's hockey. Let's just put it that way. And hockey in general. You've taken it to a new level that gets better and better, and it's more exciting every year. And kudos to everyone involved with it. It's wonderful having you join us on Game On with Scott and myself. And we look forward to following you and having more conversations about those battles between the U.S. and Canada and all those great women hockey teams around the world.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, thanks so much. It's always great chatting with you both. So I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Yes, we will. Hey,
thanks,
Scott.
Kristen.
What a great representative for the game, Scott.
Oh, absolutely. She's the best. And it's the pedigree. I mean, not just a great local goaltender in Western Manitoba, but a UND scholarship athlete. And then when that program goes down, she ends up becoming a Wisconsin scholarship athlete, wins an NCAA championship, gets nominated for the Kazmaier Award as one of the greatest goaltending performances ever in their Final Four, not allowing a goal in the entire championship in the playoffs. It was just a terrific run for her in her senior year, and congratulations to her for winning her first gold. I think there will be more. Yeah,
there'll be some more. There'll be some more battles, some more silvers probably in there too. But that's
there
what
you
keeps
go.
us.
Yeah.
Got to throw that one in there as well. Well, we have a couple more great guests. We got Brad Platt from Pilot Mound joining us, and Jason Hajdu. Forgot to mention he'll be joining us. College hockey. He'll be joining us to talk a little bit about his new role. And it's the playoffs. We'll be talking about the playoffs with Scott Taylor. We're going to take a quick break. You are listening to Game on Hockey on 790 KFGO and 104.7 Hope. Well, it is a holiday of sorts in some ways. Happy St. Patrick's Day to all. And to the one guy in this group that's wearing green, that is me, because I am a true Irishman. My grandmother was born in Derry, Northern Ireland in 1888. Yeah, that's a long, long time ago, but she was indeed born there. My family's all from Ireland. And so I am a true Irishman now, and wearing the green to prove it as well. But I hope this is a safe time for all of you. If you are out there partaking in the fun and frivolity, please take an Uber home, be safe out there, and keep everyone else safe as well. You are listening to Game on Hockey from the mighty 790 KFGO, from the Nilles Law Firm studios. And established in the early 1900s, the Nilles Law Firm provides legal services in more than 10 areas of practice, including business and corporate law, estate planning, wills and trusts, probate, commercial litigation, adoption services, and real estate. A division of Nilles Law Firm is Northern Title, which provides complete closing and escrow services along with title insurance policies for all types of real estate transactions in North Dakota as well as Minnesota. Call Nilles Law Firm at 701-237-5544 or look them up at the World Wide Web, at nilleslaw.com. And we appreciate their sponsorship. Big hockey fans over there, big hockey fans right here as well. And with that, we open the gate with my friend Scott Taylor. We got Brad Platt, U18 women's coach, Pilot Mound Hockey. The playoffs, well, they've come and gone now, Brad, and the season is now more just of a practice time for you and your team, and looking forward to next year.
Yeah, actually, we had two girls come in today, and just people interested in the program. So now is recruiting, now is some skills. We do the next 2 months of just strictly skill development. We do have a few games left. We have a World Sports Skill Challenge in Winnipeg at the end of April. So that was good. It was canceled early on because of COVID. So it was good it's actually good timing to have that. A lot of scouts come up from the US and throughout CIS and U Sport. So we still have a few games left, but it's a lot of, I like to have some fun here in the last couple months with these kids, even though we do have fun throughout the year too, don't get me wrong. But it's a lot of skill development we focus on.
Tell us your own personal opinion of your team this year, which direction you want to take it in, and tell us about the players you're recruiting.
We had a really, really good group of girls. I enjoyed, and we drove out to Penticton twice on a bus, so that's 4 days on a bus with these girls. So a lot of good laughs, a lot of fun, really good group. We're graduating, I think 6 or 7 girls. Actually, I should do that math here soon. So yeah, I want to just keep making those positive steps. Now we can actually get out and watch some of these kids. We can actually have a camp. We can get these kids in skating with us. In the past couple of years, we couldn't do any of that stuff. So it's really nice to be able to do that instead of just going off of video and hearsay. So yeah, I'm looking forward to I've got 2 more girls coming in tomorrow. So it's pretty quick. There's kids interested in the program. So we're getting them in for a skate, and we have a skate in April that kind of a 2-day camp. So I don't know if we have that set in stone, the dates of it yet, but it'll all be on our website for signups and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to some really good talent coming up here.
You're talking about talent coming in, the talent going out. You graduate 7. Do you have any college commits in that group?
Yeah, we do. I think about half of them, and then the other half just haven't decided yet. They got to get that figured out, but I think everybody's had a little bit of interest in them. Now it's just a matter of finding the right fit for them. And, in girls hockey, it's a little different than boys. Boys have some time to figure out what they want to do, but girls, you basically got to figure out what school fits best for you. And then if they have a hockey program to get into it. So it's a little different route, a little more deep thinking right away.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the voice of Brad Platt. He's the U18 women's coach at the Pilot Mound Hockey Academy. So when someone comes in for a skate, Brad, if you'd explain this, parents come along, they tour the facilities and kind of get a sense of where they may be sending their daughter in the future. Is that part of the equation?
So today we had we have a 4 o'clock practice, and the 2 girls that I had in today, I had them come in roughly around 2 o'clock so we can give a tour of the dorms. I like that part. I like being a tour conductor, so it's a lot of fun. I usually leave the dressing room to last because our dressing room is top notch. It's a lot of junior teams don't have as nice a dressing room as we have. So, and the kids look after it really well. So I like showing it off to the new kids and new parents, and kind of give them a little bit of a feel of what they expect.
So what's the deal for you now is you've got the sports school big tournament in April.
Yep.
It's kind of your next big games. You've got recruits coming in already.
Yep.
How many kids do you want to fill with? Do you want to fill the whole 7? Do you want to bring in 9 or 10? What's your thought about the number of players you'd like to recruit for next year? Because I'm sure there's a lot of young women that are looking for a place to play.
Yeah, the girls that we're bringing in right now is basically just for skates and practice. I can't add them to our roster right at this time. So it's more of just an ID skate. So we do have an ID camp coming up in April, like I said, but if that timeline doesn't fit for them, we're open to having these kids show up basically any day. We practice every day at 4 o'clock. So that weekend, those 2 days might not fit for everybody. So some provinces spring break is different than ours. So if we can get these kids in throughout the year, it's actually a little bit easier if we can do that instead of everybody all at once. And it might be easier to tour everybody all at once, but I like doing that stuff. It's good.
Yeah. And so you have basically 8 more weeks of skating, right?
Yep.
8 more. So that's a long season, a lot of time to develop those skills and a lot of chances to get up there and do some skating with the Pilot Mountain Academy. So pilotmountainacademy.com. Check it out. Brad Platt is the U18 coach. You can contact him through Pilot Mountain and the website, and then come up for a skate. Check out the place. You got a lot of people, a lot of young ladies looking for places to play, and Pilot Mountain would be a great choice. Brad, thanks very much for joining us this afternoon. The weather's getting nicer. At least you can get on those highways and get around a little easier these days, right?
You bet.
Thanks, Brad. That's Brad Platt, U18,
Thanks,
Pilot
Coach.
Mountain Hockey Academy.
Thanks.
You got it. You got it. When we take a break, we come back, a little more hockey conversation with my friend Scott, and then Jason Hajdu. He'll be joining us, talk a little bit of college hockey. It's the playoffs. He'll be able to fill us in about all of it. You're listening to Game on Hockey from the Nilles Law Firm Studios on the mighty 790 KFGO and 104.7 FM. Beautiful night in Fargo, North Dakota, wherever you may be listening to us. We appreciate you joining us each and every Thursday. Hey, it's a Thursday. Last week was a Friday. We've been on at 5:30 a bunch of times because of other athletics, basketball and so on. The first time on at 6 p.m. for quite a while. And, of course, for Scott, at 7 p.m., he's joining us from the great state of Florida, where it's a little bit toastier than it is here, but we're moving in the right direction, Scott. We melted a lot of snow today.
Yeah, I've heard that. My son was telling me that it's now basically Winnipeg's underwater.
Well, that'll be that way for a while, won't it?
There's a lot of water in the streets, and with, of course, our old sewer systems and the backups. On the snow gets all around, and the ice forms on the drains, and so the water can't drain. It's got no place to go. Well, you lived in Winnipeg, you know what it's like.
Yeah, I know all about it. It's pothole season as well.
It hasn't changed much. Oh, the potholes! My goodness gracious! At Confusion Corner and Osborne. There's a pothole. It's not the biggest in width, but in depth, it might be the deepest pothole in North America. I'm not sure there's a bottom to it. It goes all the way to the center of the earth.
Oh, that's a great time of the year. But you know what? We look so forward to getting and feeling that warm, beautiful sunshine. And just energizes us all so much. Make sure to stay tuned after the show. KFGO Today, produced by our good friend Paulie Lyons, who's producing the show. He put it together for tonight, so make sure to stay tuned for that. And then, of course, on Saturday morning, just as a reminder, Around the Rink on 740 The Fan at 9 a.m. I got Jody Hodson on board. Scott and I had Jody on talking about the big Las Vegas event, some updates on that, ticket sales, how that's going, and some other event information for the great city of Las Vegas for the destination game with the University of North Dakota and Arizona State. Jake Brandt will be joining us. Jake, the color analyst for Midco Sports. Also a good friend of Tyson Jost, by the way, who just got traded to the Minnesota Wild. He'll be giving us an update on the Wild and, of course, UND's efforts in the Frozen face-off in Minneapolis. And, of course, Joel Morgan from KFGO will be down there covering all that, plus going to a Wild. We had a lot of stuff on Saturday morning. So please join me on Saturday morning, 9 a.m., 740 The Fan. I drink a lot of coffee before that game and before my game on hockey. Pardon me, this is Game on Hockey, Around the Rink. I get confused. But that being said, 40 years ago today, Mr. Scott Taylor, Wayne Gretzky scored a hat trick.
Okay, scored a lot of them.
He scored that particular season, 10 of them, and that particular season, 92 goals in one season. Will that ever be equaled?
I can't imagine, not with the way hockey is now. One of the things we've talked about this, I absolutely despise the idea of comparing eras.
Yeah, I do too.
When Gretzky played, it was a different time. When Ted Kennedy played, it was a different time. When Sergio Mantha played, it was a different time. When the Winnipeg Victorias won the Stanley Cup, it was a different time. So you go back to the period when Gretzky played. He was clearly the best player in the NHL at the time. It was an offensive period in the game's history. There was lots of 7 and 8 goal games back in the early 80s, mid 80s. Goaltenders wore those little old brown pads. If you go on YouTube and just throw up some old games or throw up some Gretzky highlights and just look at the pads on the goaltenders. I don't know how Pokey Reddick stopped a shot. He wasn't very big, and he's playing against Messier and Anderson and Gretzky, and he's diving all over the place, making these remarkable saves. And you just look at the difference in the athleticism of the goaltenders. Today, the goaltenders wear these gigantic pads, and they're all 6'7". They're all these huge guys, and they get down on their knees and make themselves look big. There's no net to shoot at. It's a completely different world than it was back then. Gretzky's the greatest player I ever saw. He is and I saw Beliveau live, and I saw Richard live, and Howe live, and Hull live, Bobby Orr lots of times, saw these guys, but nobody saw the ice like Gretzky saw the ice. He was playing in slow motion compared to everybody else. He knew exactly where his players were going to be. He played on great lines with great players. I mean, there's another thing that you forget. He was so good because the players he played with were so good. At that same period of time, Dale Hawerchuk had Paul McLean on his wing. Paul McLean was never a goal scorer, but Hawerchuk would give him 30 to 35 a year. McLean was traded to St. Louis, so his right winger became Andrew McBain. Andrew McBain scored 32, I think, in his first year, maybe 34 in his first year with Hawerchuk. Should have had 100. Like he missed 70 open nets because Gretzky was the greatest passer of his time. Hawerchuk was the second greatest. And the puck would be on McBain's stick with a net as big as a soccer net, and he'd shoot it in the corner. Like it was just, it was just painful to watch. But when you play with great players, and Gretzky played with Jari Kurri.
Yeah.
He
Glenn
played
Anderson.
on the power play with Messier and Anderson and Jari Kurri. Can you imagine the amount of chances that they had? Yeah, it was a completely different time. Will anybody score 92 again? No, not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime anyway. Now, maybe the game will change again. And there you go again with the whole idea of eras. The whole game may change again. And what will happen if they decide that maybe it's time to go to 4-on-4? Yeah. And is there anything more exciting in the NHL than 3-on-3 in overtime? I mean, that's Absolutely. The most exciting thing. I now barely watch hockey for 2 periods and 18 minutes. There's nothing better than watching a 3-2 game.
And the skill level. And
the skill level and the sixth attacker and then tying it and then going into overtime and playing 3-on-3. The Jets finally won an overtime game after months of nothing because they put Ehlers, Dubois, and Connor together, 3 forwards, instead of a defenseman and 2 slow forwards. And suddenly they scored some goals. My goodness gracious.
They coached listened to Scott Taylor.
Well, yeah, but we yell about it all the time. The old story, the classic goal story of Teemu Selanne. And when they first introduced the 4-on-4 overtime to hockey, Craig Hartsburg was coaching in Anaheim. And Craig Hartsburg's mentality was exactly the same as mentality during the game. I'm going to get a tie out of this. I'm going to tie.
Take that one.
So he would play 2 defensemen and 2 third liners, 2 checkers. And finally, after about 3 times of this, Selanne and 2 other players of their goal scorers went to Hartsburg and said, we've already got a point. We've already got one. We're trying to get a second one. Play the guys who can score, and maybe we'll get a second point. Don't play defensive players. Once the Jets put those 3 guys out there, it was just a circus. It was just great to watch, skating all over the place, guys gunning down the wing. Yeah, they could have got caught and the other team could have scored, but that's exciting too.
Yeah, it is.
The fact is that 3-on-3, that's as good as it gets. When you have great players out there, there's nothing better.
And it's called entertainment. You're listening to Game on Hockey, which is entertainment each and every Thursday night. And with that, we open the gate and let the Saskatchewan Flash onto the ice.
You booked someone else?
The voice of Jason Hajdu. Welcome, College Hockey Inc. representative, Mr. Jason. How are you doing this afternoon? Oh, he froze up. Oh, there he is. Are you back?
Am I back? Yeah, it froze up on me there. If that happens again, I'll shut off my video and run to another room with my computer.
Okay, that's cool. You're good. So how is it going? How is the new gig going? And you've done this for a few months now. Is it still as crazy as it was day one?
I did not expect a Paul McLean and Andrew McBain reference when I hopped on. I got some Smythe Division feels there. That was nice. Thanks for that. The job's been going great. It's been going really well. I'm really happy to be a part of College Hockey Inc. It was good to get back to some hockey rinks again and hit the road again periodically, which I did before Christmas. And then a couple of weeks ago, I got to see UND play up in Omaha and clinch the Penrose and visit with some old friends and meet with some folks on the Omaha staff. And it's been really good. It's been had to hit the ground running in some regards, but I'm super happy with how the last few months have gone. Excited to, with apologies to Andy Williams, I think it was. This is the most wonderful time of year, and I'm just pumped for this weekend.
So who do you like? I mean, I know you can't pick winners. They don't want to do that, but throw something out there. Whose chances do you like best?
Whose chances do I like best? Well, it's going to sound like the easy way out, but it really feels wide open this year, doesn't it? And it feels wide open, not just with the national title race, but the Hobey Baker race too. I was racking my brain trying to think of the last time a field of 10 was so wide open at this point in time. I don't think there's a lead horse necessarily yet. And I think that the same thing goes for the national tournament too. Denver's strong. Minnesota State is strong. Quinnipiac is strong. North Dakota is always in there. Minnesota Duluth plays so well at the Xcel Energy Center. You've got some great matchups out east. The Michigan-Minnesota title game on Sunday. That's going to be a pretty epic game. I have a feeling. I don't know if I was a betting man, and I'm not. I have no idea where I would lay the money.
Well, I am, and that's what I wanted. I wanted you to help me there. You mentioned the Hobey Baker. They're the 10 finalists. Mm-hmm. There could have been 18.
There could have been, yeah.
This was a year with so many great players and no superstar above and beyond everybody else.
Yeah, I agree. And the wrinkle this year, which we hadn't seen for the last few years, is we hadn't seen the goalies really cause any havoc in the voting the last few years, ever since the Mike Richter Award was established. That's kind of become their award. That's their Cy Young Award, so to speak. But this year, you've got 3 different goalies who are finalists for the Hobie, and they're all having literally historical seasons. They're taking runs at some records that have stood for a long time, some NCAA single season records. Dryden McKay has tied the single season wins record that was shared by Marty Turco and Rob Stauber. That stood for 30 some years. The shutouts record might fall. You might see the save percentage and goals against averages records fall. So you've got those 3 goalies adding that dynamic that we hadn't had in the last few years. And I'm really curious to see how the vote will go. There's not a lot of separation. I know Bobby Brink has, I think, a 7-point lead in the national scoring race, while some other individuals have him on goals, which Hobie voters tend to value as well. So this could go anyway. And like you said, it's just as interesting to see some of the players that didn't make the cut. Folks like Ethan Frank at Western Michigan, who leads the nation in goals, and his teammate Addard, the defenseman, who's maybe the best player I saw with my eyes this year. So it's going to be a fascinating vote.
Yeah, and of course, go ahead. And the injury to Jake Sanderson that took him out of the lineup really obviously hindered his opportunity to get into that final 10 as well. So that's all. The injury comes into everything, of course.
Yeah, what tough luck for him that he's had all season long. And another one is Owen Power. If you would have said at the start of the year, Owen Power wouldn't be among the top 10, you'd think you're crazy. But it's a strong field, and some guys just didn't make the cut. So we'll see how it plays out.
Talk about the Cy Young Award. I have a difference of opinion when it comes to baseball, because pitchers go once every 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
Goaltenders are there for 35, 70% of games at least. In some cases in college hockey, 80%. Would you say a goaltender is more likely to get a look in this kind of a situation, even though he has the Richter Award, as perhaps a pitcher in baseball?
I really do. And it's funny, over the years you'd hear, well, it's probably going to take a Ryan Miller type season for a goalie to get a look again at the Hobie Baker. And now you're literally seeing 3 Ryan Miller type individual seasons here. And you look at the body of work of a Dryden McKay over his 4 years. He's the all-time shutouts leader at the NCAA level. And then Peretz at Quinnipiac and Levi at Northeastern are they're 2 underclassmen that are having just phenomenal seasons, and they're seeing a lot of pucks too. That's the thing. It's not like back in the day when Ryan Miller, I don't even know if he averaged 20 saves the year he won the Hobie. I can't remember for sure, but these guys are seeing a lot of rubber, and they're stopping a lot of rubber. So it's going to be fascinating. I don't know if any of the 3 will make the Hobie hat trick. I have a feeling at least one of them will get in, but they could split the votes too, in a sense. So it's hard to say.
What we're going to do, Jason, by the way, that's the voice of Jason Hajdu, College Hockey Inc. You're listening to Game on Hockey on 790 KFGO and 104.7 FM. We're going to take a quick break, come back, and we'll take it to the top of the hour. Going to keep this hockey conversation, college hockey specific conversation going with Scott Taylor. I'm Travis Dunn. He's Jason Hajdu. This is Game on Hockey on the mighty 790 KFGO and 104.7 FM. The fun began at 6 p.m. on Thursday evening when Game On Hockey came on. But, the morning crew every morning at 5 a.m. I do not do 5 a.m. very well, but those guys do it great. So each and every Monday through Friday, those guys, a lot of coffee, a lot of caffeine. But this segment, and we have Jason Hajdu, Director of Communications for College Hockey Inc., former U of North Dakota, Assistant Athletics Director, Media Relations. This segment brought to you by, and this is Jason's favorite store in the entire universe, the Golf Center in Grand Forks. Been in business for over 35 years. Custom club fitting from Ping, PXG, Titleist, and TaylorMade. You can still get those clubs before the golf course is open. It'll be, I'm guessing, 3 weeks before we're outside. But, it's melting pretty quickly. It'll be sloppy, but people will be out there. You can get those clubs real fast with those guys, as well as custom putter fitting. Those guys up in Grand Forks, Brian Leach and the crew, they'll take great care of you. If you're looking for the wardrobe, you need to stay warm, because we've all played golf where it snowed, it's rained, and it's been hot in the same segment. So get the gear that gets you through that round of golf at the Golf Center at 3001 South Columbia Road in Grand Forks, or call 701-775-0019. Brian Leach and the guys with the fancy shoes will take care of you. So please stop by the Golf Center and tell them Travis sent you. I appreciate if you do that as well. Jason, we also had a UND alum. You can call her a UND alum on our first segment. A young lady who won a gold medal for Team Canada in this past Olympics. One of two UND goalies to win a gold medal. Can you name the other one? Or can you name both of them, being the media director that you were?
Mr. Belfour and Ms. Campbell, would it not?
Yes, Miss Campbell. Ding, 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 ding. He wins the prize.
What did they win?
The Golf Center. I'll send you.
You can come back on the show again after the NCAA.
What could you ask for?
What is now going to be your role going forward with these playoffs? Are you going to get out to some events? What's in it for you?
My next trip will be the Frozen Four in Boston about 3 weeks from now. I'm going to stay back the home base for conference and regional weekends. It's easier to focus my attention on everything all at once if I'm not at one particular site. As badly as I'd love to be at the Xcel Energy Center, got a lot of fond memories of that building, and it'd be great to be there, but it's better for my efficiency if I stay back and just pound away at some game notes and have things ready for our media friends. And we've got Nate Ewell, my predecessor, always put together this outstanding postseason media kit this time of year. So I'll start working on that right away. Big booklet full of facts and figures and data to send to all the SIDs and reporters and broadcasters. So that's going to be my priority here going forward. And then after the Frozen Four, then our attention turns to the coaches convention in Florida. And then the NHL draft will be just around the corner at that point. So those are the three big projects here ahead.
Yeah, that NHL draft is going to be big for the NCAA, isn't it? College hockey is going to play a major role this year.
Looks like it's going to be another big one. Yeah, we just the numbers just keep going up every year. And I was actually looking at the numbers before I came on the air, and this isn't necessarily draft related, but I think we're at about 320 NCAA alums that have played the NHL this year, and that's closing on the record. It's about 7 away from the record from about 3 years ago.
And Adam Shield was called up by the Dallas Stars recently. Had to be the backup for Ottinger, and may get some time, hopefully, between the pipes in his first NHL game. He's been very, very stellar in the minors. And guy went down to the American League, and then he went out to the East Coast, now back to the American. You've had experience with these young men, whether it be forwards, defensemen, whatever they are. How much fun is it watching them progress into their careers as NHL hockey players?
That's honestly the probably the most gratifying part, and I'd say not even the NHL component of it, but when they arrive on campus on day one as a kind of a clueless freshman in most cases, and just to see even the personal growth over their 3 and 4 years on campus. That's the gratifying part, and seeing them a lot of times reaching their goals individually and as a team, that's the gratifying part. And then when they make it to the next level, whether it's in their sport or if they make it to that next level, so to speak, in their chosen profession, just super gratifying. That's what it's all about. The memories, the on-ice memories, all tend to blur. I'm into my mid-40s now, so it gets fuzzier, but it's the relationships. It sounds cliche, but it is the relationships, and it's the bonds that you forge, and being able to track guys like Brock Besser as they rise through the ranks, the Troy Stetchers, the Nick Schmaltzes, who's gone bonkers here the last couple of weeks. That's really fun to see. You're right.
This weekend, Xcel Energy Center, correct?
Yep.
What's North Dakota's chances?
Well, imagine this. They've run into the injury bug again, it sounds like. Mr. Sanderson's out and for the foreseeable future. And I believe Tyler Klevin, also on defense, is out for Friday's semifinal. So
Yep.
It's right back to that next man up, which they've handled all year long. And that's no surprise to anyone that follows the program, whether from the inside or from the stands. That's just how they approach their business. But Western Michigan gives them all they can handle, even in a down year. Even when Western Michigan is going through a down year, they've always given North Dakota all they can handle. And that's a good team this year. They're as good as anyone in the country when they're firing on all cylinders. So I think that one's a toss-up. In my heart, I never bet against that program. That's what I've told people for years.
Yeah.
Honest, all kidding aside. I've told that to friends. I've told that to fans. You just, no matter what's in front of them, you just don't bet against that program. It's a fool's errand at some point.
Well, and then one thing they did prove last weekend, a couple of 2-1 victories over Colorado College. It is playoff hockey. Winning a game 2-1 back-to-back nights, that gives you a lot of confidence. One, in that goaltender back behind you making those saves, and UND has solved that issue with some pretty stellar goaltending, but also good, just solid defensive play. Which, when you're down a man like a Jake Sanderson, in this case, a Tyler Klevin this weekend, that defensive play becomes even more paramount in playoff hockey, doesn't it?
I think so, and I think that this isn't new to them now. Being down a Sanderson and a Klevin, they have gone through this. They've dealt with this. Guys have stepped up. They know what's in front of them now. So this won't throw them for a loop. And you're right. Zach Driscoll has absolutely just stabilized things between the pipes. And I think that probably coincides with when they really started to get hot back in January. And he's been the X factor for sure.
Well, Jason, we appreciate you. Oh, yeah, go ahead. One more. Go ahead.
What we talked about earlier, though, when it came to the University of Michigan. These schools have kids who want to play. They're desperate to play. Mm-hmm. And when they get that opportunity, it's not a matter of nerves. It's a matter of stepping up and getting the job done and helping your team win big games. Yeah, and I think that's a lot about the product of college hockey.
Yeah. The depth is incredible. When you get down into the third, you're right, the third and fourth lines, and even the guys that are the healthy scratches, these guys can all play. These guys are there on merit. But they have to be ready. And I heard Coach Barry on a podcast a few weeks ago explain that it's one thing to just say, yes, I'll be ready when my opportunity comes, but you have to put in that work leading up to that opportunity. And more often than not, his guys have put in that work and they're ready when called upon.
And the solid coaching staff that they have, the detail that they pay attention to is above and beyond everything. Well, Jason, with that, we're going to let you out the door. We sure appreciate you jumping on board. And before we'll be on until just after the NCAA championship, maybe you can come on and we can look back at the mistakes we made in guessing who would win and who would lose. But really appreciate you jumping on board. College Hockey Inc. It's a real pleasure having you join us again.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
You look at the fingers of University of North Dakota hockey, Scott, not only the players that go to bigger, better things, but someone like Jason Hodge and what he's doing today with College Hockey Inc. Is pretty amazing as well, isn't it? Well,
we had two ex-UNDers in different ways.
Right.
An ex-front office guy, for lack of a better term, and an ex-goalie who just got shut down. Right. Would have completed her career there and graduated and been quite happy.
Yeah, and that's Kristen Campbell, gold medalist, one of two, University of North Dakota. That's a trivia question for the future if you're out there trying to amaze and delight people with your knowledge of the game of hockey. You got Eddie Belfour, UND graduate, Kristen Campbell, UND graduate, both Olympic gold medalists. And that's quite I definitely want to reach out to Eddie and see if I can get Eddie to give her. Wouldn't that be great if Eddie would pick up the phone and call her, wouldn't it?
That'd be wonderful. Yeah,
and I know he would.
He'd end up talking to her brother.
Yeah, probably more so than that. You're right. Well, that wraps up another fun show, my friend. But what's the plan for tomorrow? Off to Disney to do some fun things, or just going to hang out with the grandbabies?
Yeah, we're off to Disney with the grandbaby. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's what you're doing.
Stay in the sun, my friend.
When your daughter works there in HR, that's what a guy does when you're hanging out in the big city of Orlando. Hey, Scott, it's always a blast having you each and every week. We have a lot of fun. We'll try to do a good job again next week, maybe even better with great guests. I think Izzy Marvin will be joining us, the women's coach for the Warroad Women's Warriors hockey team. state champions. We'll have him next week, and a great conversation about the women's game and the growth of it. We continue to pound that gavel because it's growing immensely. And with that, we're going to say goodnight to my good friend Scott. Wear sunscreen, my friend. You're a little red, and wear that good Vikings cap, my friend. And we'll do this again next week, hopefully on Thursday at 6 p.m.
Great stuff. See you next week.
You got it. That's Scott Taylor hanging out in Orlando, Florida, and I'm hanging out in Fargo. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Saturday morning, again, make sure to join me around the rink with Jody Hodgson, Jake Brandt, and Joel Morgan. Updates on college hockey and all sorts of fun things, including the Vegas thing. So from the Nillis Law Firm studio, we bid you adieu for Game on Hockey. For Scott Taylor, I'm Travis Dunn, and our guests, we thank them for joining us. Have a wonderful evening. Be safe out there, and happy St. Patrick's Day.